Hello, hello, hello. Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Closer community. We are so excited to pull up tonight at Money University on our new series for the next 4 weeks. We are just ecstatic about economic empowerment, and we're so glad that you're going to be a part of the conversation. Are you excited about our conversation tonight, Pastor?
Oh, I am super excited. And then it's even better when you're sitting next to a beautiful, smart, intelligent black woman. So I've got the best of it all. This is just going to be an amazing night. So I'm looking forward to it. And I hope that all of you are.
Well, tonight we hope that we really get to the meat of economic empowerment. We want tonight to be a dialogue. Tonight is not a monologue. As even though both of us are, well, he's more of a preacher, I'm more of a teacher. Even though we are preacher teachers, tonight we really want this to be a conversation, and we want you to chime in and drop some questions in the chat. And if you are hearing anything that's empowering and you know that someone needs to be a
Yes,
part of this
yes.
conversation, share it. That's our only ask, right?
Yeah.
Is to, when we run across so much content on social media, but when we run across good content, it is very important for us to share it. And so we're going to ask that you share this YouTube link with someone, for all of our YouTubers. Or if you're watching Facebook Live, we're going to ask that you share the content with someone that you know that needs this
Yes,
conversation
yes.
that we're talking about tonight. And we're talking about money, all things money for the next 4 weeks. Biblical principles about money. I'm just so excited because we get to rub shoulders, you know, when it comes to money, because this is our first time doing this together.
Yeah, money, money, money. But it's really, all about a passion for helping people. I can tell you that this beautiful woman that's sitting next to me has just really been pushing me and really just imploring me to do this and to make this thing happen, because she is deeply concerned, as I am, about the state of our community and its finances. And so, what an amazing blessing to have a partner with you that has similar passions that you have. Anyone who knows me knows how passionate I am about helping people with their money, but then to be blessed with a partner who has that same passion. Wow, wow, wow. So this is going to be exciting. You're going to hear a lot of high energy, great information. So buckle up. It's going to be a great night.
So a lot of times people ask, besides our last name being Cash, what basically qualifies us to talk
Yeah,
about
yeah.
money. So, I mean, yes, our last name is Cash, but we do have other qualifiers to bring us to this table and have this conversation. Because a lot, it's no different than when you go work out and you want a trainer who's going to teach you about reps and run, in handstands and all that, to have success in
Yes.
weight loss and fitness, right?
Right.
Right. So I think it's very fair to kind of talk about our background and story for people that don't know the Cashes. This is your first time knowing the Cashes, or you may know us personally, but you
Right,
don't know
right,
our
right.
journey and our experience around finances and money. So I'll let you go ahead and tell them about your expertise and your experience.
Well, first of all, both of us have. Is it called postgraduate degrees? Is that not what is it called? Bachelor's degrees, and then
We have some
yeah.
schooling.
And so
Yeah.
we're not just people who are not learned. And you say, why is that important? Well, because being learned just help you understand and articulate information at a faster and a better speed. Doesn't make you any better, but at least you know that the people that are teaching you are learned. Um, I have spent over 18 years
Over 20.
helping people in their finances. I have calculated, and I think I shared this with you before, that I'm somewhere in the ballpark of about 10 to 15,000 people in my lifetime of doing finances that I have helped. And so just think about that. That the level of expertise that type of experience and time and I've seen it all. I've seen the wealthy to those who are financially challenged have challenges in their finances. So I'm a person who has deep empathy. I understand, I care, and people mean a lot to me. And so, certainly you're getting two people who have personally gone through our own financial obstacles, ups and downs, made our mistakes, came together to make a better financial marriage. So we are two people who not only are learned, not only are experienced, but we can speak from our own personal experience in this journey regarding finances.
So he's very modest. So I'm going to help him. So Tony has over 20 years in the banking industry specifically. So he's worked for at least four of the largest banks in America, period, as a branch manager, as financial support. So he's seen it all. He's seen your family members, or if not, you have to come into the bank and sit down and talk with them about financial needs, reversing fees, and all of those different types of things within our community. So he has a passion for helping
Yeah,
people. His passion for helping people just didn't start now
right.
financially. It started some years ago when he was in the branch and he saw so many African Americans come in with what they thought was a lot of money. And he said, wow, I have a desire to want to support people. He used to help so many people, and
Yes.
many of you are watching. He's probably helped you. So he has spent many years helping people financially. All across the board. He's an executive for another for another banking place, and so he doesn't like to brag on himself, but he is. And so with that, not only with that he's a financial executive, he's also written two books about finances. And his two books basically talk about moving from one place to another place, living beyond paycheck to paycheck, financial freedom. Anyone When I came into our marriage, I did not have a whole lot of financial knowledge. And when I say he has helped me open up my eyes to what it means to be financially free, is just so amazing. And so that was makes us this power couple when it comes to finances. And I realized that people don't care to hear what you say unless they can understand your journey. And transparency is so important when it comes to talking about money. So if we want to help people, babe, we have to be very open, even about our growing pains, financially. And so I can say this. I've grown so much financially because of Tony, because of his journey. He grew up in one of the worst projects here in Atlanta, and he did not come from a
Was
whole
it the
lot of
worst though? I mean, it
Bank,
was tough. Hold up,
Bankhead Courts.
hold up,
If you're from Atlanta, y'all type it in the chat. Bankhead
hold
Courts
up, hold up.
was one of
Let
the
let's
was
change the.
known did not have the reputation for being one of the best
Hold up. Oh,
projects in
let's
Atlanta.
not use the word
Okay,
worst. Maybe we were challenged, but we
okay,
weren't the
challenge.
worst.
So he grew up in a very challenged community and one of the most
Shout outs to
challenged,
Bankhead. What's up?
see what I'm saying? Challenged communities in Atlanta. And he did not come from a lot of money. And so his journey to acquire money comes from a very deep rooted place. And so I had to learn that in our marriage because I came from a different a two-parent household, and my parents are what you consider working class parents. And so I did not have the a lot of the struggles that he had financially. And so I probably spent that way. Not probably, I did spend that way. And So I had to do some purging in my spending habits and my learning habits about money. So together we are this empowerment couple about finances. We
Hmm.
are open to share things that we have learned, places we have grown
Yeah.
from, his educational background, his financial experience. And so he qualifies, not only because he can talk to you about it. These are the things that we are going to talk to you about, are things that we live.
Yeah.
They're not just something we read out of a book, they're actually experiences. So when we say that we cut back on something, we cut back on something. When we say we don't swipe credit cards for a season, because we don't do those things. And so we're going to just really unpack that.
Absolutely. And let me just say this though, and I can first of all thank you, sweetheart, for all of those kind words. You I think you're getting me back because early in our marriage, when I used to have the mic, I told all of our business. So now I think this is your way of getting me back. So okay, okay, touche. But I also don't want to um, downplay how important you were to my financial education, or this how should I word it, this passion I have for finances. And that's because once I married you and understood the responsibility that I had, and would look in your eyes and wanted you to feel secure, um, uh, you gave me a greater passion. And everyone's path is different, but I don't think I had this level of passion until I married you and understood the enormous responsibility that I had. So I want to say thank you to you for being the driver of this passion I have, because once I married you and loved you, it made me want to do better and more in the area of our finances. So thank you just for being that spark that lit that fire within me.
Well, let me tell you, we're gonna light some more fires tonight, and so I hope our energy pours over into you. Um, for those of you that are pulling up to the Close Experience for the very first time, it is our midweek experience at the Leadership Church. We call it an experience because it can be a variation of small groups, Bible studies, midweek pop-up service, chat and choose, panel discussions, and just conversations like we're having tonight. The Believers 4 C's at the Leadership Church is calling, competence, confidence, and character. And so our goal is to build financial competence within the people that we touch. And so we hope that you'll join and be a part of this believers community and learn as much as possible, and that the information that we share with you tonight help you to become a better steward in your finances. So a lot of times when I'm talking to people, I like to help unpack language, because it's very important. I find that a lot in the circles that I run in. We talk about language, how important language is, and making sure that we define and we're on the same page when we use words. In African American community, we find that the word affordability, or I can afford this, is widespread use. And one of the things that we really find in the African American community is that we're misinformed about what affordability really means. We think because we have access to money, or if I have access to $100, or if I got access to $1,000, then that means that I can afford to purchase, or I can afford to spend. So for the sake of our viewers tonight, can you talk to them about the difference between affordability, what it means to afford, and access?
Yeah. First of all, great question, by the way. It's kind of like the way I look at it is, say you work in a bank, and you was a teller, and you get your drawer out every day, and in your drawer is about $20,000. So at that moment, what do you have? Access.
Access.
But the question is, can you afford to walk out of that door
Right.
with that $20,000?
Other people's money.
Because we can't deny that you have what? Access.
Access.
But can you afford to walk out of that door with that? What are the repercussions going to be if you walk out of that door with that $20,000?
Mm-hmm.
That's how I look at it when it comes to our own finances.
Mm-hmm.
Just because you have a credit card with 5,000 with a $5,000 limit, just because you see $400 in your checking account, just because you believe you make enough to pay that car note, you do have access to it. But the issue is the affordability. What will be the ramifications of your actions if you take those actions? So it's so important. Excuse me, we're having a little mic problem. So it's so important that we delineate, okay, yes, I have access to this, but what will be the impact upon my life? In other words, if I'm thinking about buying this brand new car, if I'm thinking about swiping this credit card, how will it affect my family's finances in the immediate? Meaning, will it cause us financial strain? Will it cause us financial challenges? And how will it affect our finances in the future? Will we be able to save 6 months worth of rent? Will we be able to retire in a manner where when we get old, we're not stressed? So, that's important. The last thing I'll say about access is it's tricky because access often excites us.
Yes, it does.
And access will make us ignore affordability because access helps us believe what we want we should have.
Mm-hmm.
So you have to be really careful with access and understand that, yes, I have $500 in my account, I have access to it, but can I afford to give someone $489 of that every month and still live a stress free financial life and still have a decent retirement?
You wrote a book called "I Know Why You're Broke," and the funny thing was that
You can
people,
get it at Amazon.com.
I meaning EYE, know why you're broke, and to me, I think it had a lot to do with the perception of, you know everything you see you have to have, and so it goes back to what we, another language or another vocabulary word or another keyword that we would kind of talk about, is delayed gratification. And that particular word or that particular phrase is not necessarily something we see utilized a lot within the African American community when it comes to spending habits.
Right?
For whatever reason, we have this, we like to look the part, drive the part, dress the part, because we feel like that gives us some type of status.
Yes.
Um, I mean, you can say, "Well, I don't think dressing really give me a yes, I think it does. I don't know what else it could be other than for a reason for a
Hmm.
person to want to go out and buy a $3,000 handbag, and they don't quite have $3,000 saved, or three times $3,000 saved, but you want to purchase a $3,000 handbag, whether it's on a credit card or your cash money. I don't quite understand that concept unless it's about status,
Yeah.
or we feel, or the same thing when we drive for whatever reason. And I know for those of you that are watching, don't be offended, this is not targeted towards you, but a lot of times in our culture, we drive our money, we drive our savings, we drive our 401ks, because the car that we have or the car that we want is supposed to give us a certain
Yes.
status,
Yeah.
right?
There's a saying that with wealthy people, which is the wealthier they become, the worse their attire becomes.
Mhm.
Like you would think that the more money they get,
Yes.
they go out and buy more clothes. But most billionaires, if you were to see them millionaires, if you were to see them out, you probably wouldn't recognize the name brand on the jeans they're wearing.
Yes.
They probably have on a regular t-shirt, because one of the things that we financial psychologists have understood is wealthy people know they're wealthy. Poor-minded people need you to think they are.
Hmm.
And so that's why everything they do starts with the appearance. It has to shine. It has to have some type of bling to it, because they're figuring that since I'm unwilling to do the work to be wealthy, I'll take the fast track and say, hey, why don't I look the part?
Wait a minute, you said something about bling now. You're gonna have some of the sisters coming after you
Right,
about the
right, right.
bling because I like bling too. I like things that shine.
But you talked about delayed gratification,
I,
didn't you?
I did, and and the reason why, and I hate that I'm stuttering so much about it, is because we I had to learn, and I'm still learning how to master my emotional spending habits. And I realized when we sat down and we talked about what our financial goals were, it helped me curb my appetite for spending and peel back the layers of why I was wanting to make these type of spending choices. And if you know anything about Tony, he doesn't drive fancy cars. He for a long time drove this beat up Honda that's still in our yard, and
Oh
these
Lord.
are the sacrifices that he chose to make, or we chose to make as a couple, in order to get ahead financially. We don't he for three I think 3 years ago he bought me a new car and he paid cash for it, and that's just the route that we take when we're trying to live this financial free
It was a
life.
decent car though.
It's a nice car, it is.
Okay. Yeah,
Okay, no, no,
I don't want anyone to think I put you
no,
in
no, no, no,
a,
no.
a three
I
thousand dollar
drive
cash
nice.
car and you still have to pull
No,
over to the side of the
no,
road, put
no,
oil in it every
no, no, no,
day, kick the
no,
tires and make sure that I don't. Well, let
no,
me be clear now.
no,
That's how I drive. But now
right.
the missus, I wouldn't do that to her
No, no,
now.
I drive nice. I do drive nice, but he paid cash for it. We don't have a note. But I say all that to say that living beneath our means is a sacrifice that
Yeah.
we make. And a lot of times, because we don't dress very flashy, or we don't drive a Benz.
Just say people, period.
Well, no, 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 I'm getting to what I'm getting to. A lot of times, because we're not that way, and more important that he's not that way, people misappropriate if he qualifies to talk to them about financial wealth building, because they're used to seeing Black people or African American people wear their money or drive their money, so he's been approached before, like, hey man, you need to get a new car, right?
Yeah,
Because
and
they felt like,
but I didn't mind that. I just asked them if they would be willing to pay for
I know, but I'm just saying,
it. You can
right?
approach me as long as you're gonna help. You're gonna pay for it. But let me say something. Robert Kiyosaki said.
Yes.
He said it's not how much money you make, but how much money you keep, how hard it works for you, and how many generations you keep it for. Did you hear that?
Yes, I
It's
did.
not how much money you make, but how much money you keep, how hard it works for you, and how many generations you keep it for. And I think that's what this idea of delayed gratification is all about. Making sure that you're not the only one that experienced the power of your money. Making sure that there are generations after generations whose lives are blessed because you were willing to sacrifice in this moment, so that 3 generations later, your children's children's lives are better. And you and I talk about this all the time, where we say what we want to teach people to do is not have every generation start on at
Right.
ground zero.
Right.
We're not saying that you don't get to enjoy any of the financial blessings God has given you. But what we're saying is, think about the struggle that you had when you had to start from ground zero, when you had to start with, $100,000 in school debt, when you had to start with trying to buy a car from ground zero. These are the things and the generational curses that we're saying when you employ uh, delayed gratification. It actually helps you help people that you may see or you may never see. But how powerful is it, or would it be, if 4 generations from now, when we're gone, and the children can say, our great, 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 great grandparents
Left
made
something.
sure
Yes.
that we didn't have to start from ground zero.
No, it's magnificent. And the thing about it is, what people don't realize, that delayed gratification does cause some type of pain. It causes you to deny what you want now for something that you can have later.
Yes.
I remember when it was funny. It wasn't. It's funny now. When we first got married, I was swiping the credit card, like,
Oh
because I
Lord.
paid the bills, and so I would pay. Now, make sure he had good credit. I paid the bill on time, but he didn't realize that I
No, I
had
did not.
swiped the credit card, and it started out with, oh, I'm just gonna buy something for the kids. Oh, I want this to have a cute outfit. And when I was looking at the report, I saw Carter's, I saw Walmart, I saw Target. I mean, and I was just swiping, 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 and I had swiped so much to Carter's, I might as well have bought stock in Carter's. And that's when the kids were small at first. And that was the first time I ran the credit card up. I ran up maybe 18,000, right? It was maybe like $18,000. I ran the credit card up. And
Does anybody see my forehead splitting? If
right.
you're out there, let me tell you, I am a modest guy, but sometimes I can have a temper. I was livid. I almost lost all my marbles and the
No, he did.
neighbor's marbles.
He did lose his marbles, but
But then she's getting ready to tell you more that split my forehead
no,
again.
no. So I did, and then I remember I my brother. I went and I told my brother, we had went somewhere, and I told my brother, because I thought maybe he could slide me a little bit to kind of pay it down. And so when I told him how much I had spent on a credit card, he's like, "Yeah, you're gonna talk to Tony." So my brother couldn't bail me out, and I had to go talk to Tony and tell him about how much I had spent the card, and he was so livid. But he paid the credit card down. We paid it down, and then after that, I was like, okay, I don't know what happened, but later on, it seemed like, the thing was, we were really, really aggressive about savings, and he was very tight on the budget because we were really, really saving in our 401k. So that means, like, I wasn't getting all the money wasn't coming into the checking account. So I would compensate for things that I wanted to purchase, not practicing delayed gratification, not practicing emotional spending. And I looked up, and I had ran the credit card up again. And it was like maybe like 2 or 3 years later, I had ran it after he had paid it down the 18,000. I had ran the credit card back up again. But here's the thing, he found out about it because I had because
Right.
this one day, I guess I must have forgot to pay the Georgia Power bill. And I said, I know that's not Georgia Power pulling up. He said, are they about to cut our power off? And I was like, no. He's like, did you pay the bill? Because I had the money to pay the bill, but I must have forgot to pay the bill. And oh my God, they cut the power off. And then I had to talk to the guy and tell him I was going to go around the corner and pay the bill. Could he stay right there and turn the power on? So I'm negotiating. And Tony is just like, looking like he's about to just blow up. I don't know what made you decide to check your credit card that day, but
Mhm.
he checked the credit card
See, if
balance.
you ain't paying the electric bill, ain't no telling what you're doing with my credit card. So I'm like, she's got a history. And let me say something to you. History does matter. So that's what made me say, let me just do a let me just give everyone some advice out there. Do a check every now and then. Just I know you trust your spouse, but trust but verify.
So he verified, and I did. I had ran the credit card up again. I think that time I had ran it up to about 10,000. It didn't jump to 18,000, but it was very close to $10,000. Now y'all thought he was gonna leave me on this. Like I promise you, I promise my hand to God, we had to have so many interventions. I mean, I got people that can verify that. I had to call and be like, "Oh my God, Tony's gonna leave me. I ran the credit card up," and but I did not understand his at that time his pain attached to finances, that he was so afraid of not having something because of his experience growing up and the things that he had to go through to make sure that he had something in life. I didn't quite understand his passion for wanting to live this financial free life, and I didn't know how to utilize credit well. I knew I was supposed to pay the credit card bill, but some people are good with swiping it for $100 and turn around and paying that $100 back. I was not good with that. I always dreamed of having a Macy's a card, because growing up, I saw my mom have a Macy's card. I saw my aunts have a Macy's card, and I wanted to have a department card. And he was like, "You don't need a department card." So now when I go in the store, people are like, "Oh, would you like to get a Macy's card?" I said, "No, I'm trying to stay married." I say all that to say, yes, he
Good
paid.
answer. Good answer.
He paid down the 10. We paid down the 10 grand. Then, and so what I vowed to do was not hold a credit card anymore in my purse. Period, because I did not. I needed to be delivered. I needed to be taught more. I needed to have ground myself emotionally. I needed to have more financial intelligence, and I sat down to become learned because I found out that finances was so important to him, and so important. He wanted to make sure that I was secure in my future,
Absolutely.
and he wanted to make sure that we were secure as a couple,
Yep.
and that we were secure as a family.
Yes.
And I was a threat to that security, to my own security.
He bears them up.
So that was
Yeah.
what that may have been like 10 years ago, like maybe 10, 12 years ago. It's been some time, so I've learned a lot being underneath his tool, being underneath him as a financial teacher, a financial coach, a financial advisor. He talks finances 24/7, all day, all night. So it's ingrained in me. So I say all that to say that we're not talking about something we didn't experience. We're talking about the fact that you have to have financial resilience when you want to have something.
Yeah.
Talk to the people about the importance of financial resilience.
I mean, listen, thank you so much. I didn't really want you to share all that, but okay, again, payback is, I'm getting it back because I used to do that to you, so I'm getting it back. But again, I love the fact that Eleshia talked about the trouble and the challenges we had, because sometimes what happens with us is when we have financial challenges or when we have financial troubles, we just kind of throw in the towel.
Yes.
We kind of say, you know what? It's never going to work. I'm never going to get out of debt. And I'm telling you, that's not true. That, yes, you made a mistake. Yes, you didn't get it right. Yes, you could have done better. But also, you are capable of getting it right and doing better. And I'm telling you that the resilience you have to have is, we get knocked down, but we get back up. You know that, yes, I didn't do it right in 2018. No, I didn't do it right in 2020. Maybe I didn't do it right in 2021. But 2022 is my year. And financial resilience is really all about saying, I have a financial goal for my life. And even if it's me and you talked about how you were a threat
Yes.
to our financial
Yes.
well-being.
Yes.
Even if it's me, I'm going to fight against myself or whomever it is that will be a threat to my finances. I'm not going to quit. I'm not going to throw in the towel. And one of the major things I tell anyone who will listen to me is that seek advice.
Hmm.
I believe that no matter how much money you have, you need a financial advisor. And stop not wanting to pay people for their time. Most people, they understand where you're at. They'll charge you in proportion to your finances, but seek help. Let someone sit down with you and help you deal with your emotional overspending, your this emotional impulse you have. When I'm down, I spend. When I'm happy, I spend.
It's called retail therapy, boo.
Yes. So sit down and let someone help you, because if you could have helped yourself, you would have already done it.
That's so good. I'm thinking about the biblical word where Jesus said that the enemy comes to steal, kill, and destroy,
Yes.
but I come that you may have life and have it more abundantly. And I believe, and if you're watching tonight, and if you believe this for your life, that God wants you to have an abundant life. He does not want you to be tied to debt. He does not want you to be tied to owing someone. He doesn't want you to be tied to living paycheck to paycheck. He wants you to live an abundant life. And with that abundant life comes with having abundant choices
Yes.
that we all can make. And one of the things that I believe is that when we're living paycheck to paycheck, we're settling. And that's anti what God wants for us. He didn't says, I've come that you might have a settled life. He
That's right.
says that I've come that you may have life and have it more abundantly. And
Yes.
so I'm just saying, I want all what God has for me.
Yes.
I don't
Yes.
want a little bit of it. I want all whatever God
Yes.
has for me. I want it all. I want every single thing. If it's financial freedom, I want it for my life. I want
Yes.
all of those things. And so it may be that you have to make that decision that I want more than just status.
Yes.
And that was one of the things that when we decided, even as pastors, because we being in this kind of space, we meet a whole lot of people, and what we find out is that whole lot of pastors are suit and car rich. But when it came down to what they had financially and what was saved and what they didn't have a whole lot because they were so caught up in the status and looking apart. And it's easy for us to fall into that.
Yes.
But we made a decision that that was not what we're going to do. In our household, we decided that number one, we pay our tithes first, then we pay ourselves second. So that means we tithe our 10%, we save our 10%, then after that, we pay our bills, and everything else comes after. And that takes discipline. Talk about the financial discipline you have to have when you want to have the abundant life financially.
Well, I mean, first of all, um, your future, your financial future has to mean more than a temporary appreciation from people.
Oh, yes.
Because the one thing I'll tell people is, uh, it's much easier to be poor when you're young. Well, what am I saying? If you're young and you're 19, 20, 21, 22, and you need to maybe move in with someone and maybe couch surf a little bit, people say, oh, no problem. You're getting yourself together. When you're 60 and you need to live with someone because you haven't taken care of your finances, that's a whole nother
Yes, it
picture.
is.
And so what I'm saying is, this idea is that you've got to care more about your financial future than what other people think, feel about you, how they see you. You've got to really care. And then, so how do we know when we care about things? Number one, when you care about something, it moves to the forefront of your life.
Mhm.
Nothing you care about is pushed in a closet. So when you care about something, it moves to the, in other words, you move your financial well-being to a place of priority in your life.
Yes.
Secondly, when you care about something, you protect it.
Yep.
So number two, you protect your financial well-being even against yourself.
Yes.
And you say, if I make this financial decision, it's going to harm my financial goals. And the third thing you do is you check on it. You're constantly checking to see where changes might be needed.
Yes.
You're constantly checking to see, okay, maybe I'm saving 10%, but with inflation, with the way life is, I may need to bump that to 20% because with inflation, that 10% is not the same as it was 3 years
It
ago.
sure
So
isn't.
that deep care will won't just show in your words, it'll show in the actions that follow those words.
And we were just talking about that. I was like, Tony, we may need to relook at
Yes,
our
you were.
percentage of what we're saving because inflation, it used to be that 10% was enough. So let's talk about our plans for the future. How much do we need to increase our savings
Right.
now? I mean, is that 10% model? And we're going to talk about that more in some of the other sessions because tonight is just generally about emotional spending, but we're going to break it down for you about what changes you should be making in this economy.
Yes.
You're going to have to pivot from what we were taught before. We're going to have to ramp it up a little bit more. And we're going to talk about practical ways on doing that, couponing, all of those old fashioned
Absolutely.
things that we used to use. We're going to have to bring out some of those strategies and different ways to save and cut back on, to save and also cut back on spending. But before we leave, I want you all to, because we said tonight wasn't going to be a dialogue, a monologue. If you have questions, go ahead and drop them in the chat. We want to hear from you. We want to answer a few questions before we leave. But while people are dropping their questions in the chat, talk to them about your about money. We talked about what money means, break it down for the people. How should they look at their money? Because this is Money University. This is 4 weeks that we're going to do some deep dives about money. But tonight it's just about language, new definitions.
Yes.
It's about emotional spending. We have to surface this theme first. And you definitely have to have a mind shift. And we're going to talk about that before we leave. Go ahead.
Yeah, thank you so much. So one of the things I have is acronym for money that I believe will help anyone that's dealing with money. Let's start with M. M is market timing. Market timing. What is market timing? That is the act of moving investment money in or out of a financial market or switching funds between asset classes based on predictive methods. In other words, understanding that the way, and you said it so eloquently, maybe I was saving 5 years ago because the savings accounts were giving 1.5 or 2%. But if saving accounts now are giving 0.005 and inflation is 4 or 5%, my money is actually the value of my money is actually decreasing. So it may be that it's time for me to understand how the market has changed, understand the timing, and move those funds in somewhere where it can at least match what um, inflation is. Because think of it this way: if I paid $2.50 for a jug of milk 3 years ago, and I have $5, that same $5, and now that same jug of milk is, $3. Well, do you know now where I could get 2 jugs of milk with the $5 then? Now I can only get 1 jug of milk. That's inflation. And so market timing understanding market timing is vital because it helps you understand Where do I need to place my money so that I can get maximum return and at least not be eaten up by inflation? O is over leveraged. You know, over leverage usually speaks of a company, and a company is said to be over leveraged when it has too much debt, impeding its ability to make principal and interest payments or to cover operating expenses. When a company is thought to be over leveraged, it means they have so much debt that they can't even take care of their daily responsibilities. I use that even in when I'm coaching people, financially coaching people, and I look at their situation, and I say to them, you appear to be over leveraged. You have so much debt that it's impeding your ability to even take care of your normal responsibilities as well as your future responsibility, which is your retirement. I want to just say this. What normally happens with companies, and I equate this to people when they're over leveraged, is they typically try to restructure their debt or file for bankruptcy. They either try to restructure the debt, but you know what I found with people? Oftentimes, by the time we realize we're over leveraged, our credit won't allow us to restructure the debt because we need to be approved for the loan to restructure it. We're being denied, so now we start saying, well, I guess the only thing left is bankruptcy. And that's what we're trying to keep you away from. So M is market timing. O is being over leveraged. N is net worth. Net worth is calculated by subtracting all of your liabilities from your asset. You say, what's an asset? An asset is anything owned that has monetary value, while liabilities are obligations that deplete resources. Ooh. Deplete resources. What are some of the liabilities? Well, I'll help you with that. Some of the liabilities are loans, credit cards, mortgages, car notes. So these are not assets. These are liabilities that deplete your resources. And everybody ought to know their net worth. You ought to know that once I look at my assets, subtract what I owe, what is that number? You know why you have to know that?
Right.
Because sometimes you could be living in fantasy and you can think you're worth more because you're discounting that debt. So you might say, well, I got $100,000 in my 401k and I got 10,000 saved. And say, oh, you do? And say, yeah, but I owe 80,000 in debt. Well, actually,
right.
You're only worth $30,000 or whatever,
That's
because if you were to take that cash asset and pay those liabilities, that's all you'd have left. Let's move real quickly. And E for money is emergency fund. An emergency fund is a financial safety net for future mishaps. What do we talk about? Delayed gratification. Emergency funds should typically have 3 to 6 months worth of expenses. Although the 2020 economic crisis and lockdown has led a lot of experts to say it's really time to move to at least 1 full year of emergency funds. So how do you get there? I've got a few examples here. I'll move real quickly. So savers can use tax refunds and other windfalls to build up their funds. And
so you saying when we get our tax refund?
Yeah, instead of buying that new whip, instead of buying the new whip, dog,
or going out and buying the kids a new new outfits, new shoes.
Yeah, no.
Oh, what about going to spring break? Because a lot of people use their tax refund to go on spring break.
And they could do that, but I've always said this about spring break. I don't know how you springing and how you breaking if you broke. Because I don't know how you can be happy out there knowing that when you come back from the trip, you're in a worse condition than when you left. But that's just me.
You're in the red.
But Again, E is for emergency funds. And we are starting to believe that you need at least 1 full year of all your financial expenses in your emergency fund. And then finally, Y. Y stands for yearly rate of return. And that's computed by looking at the value of whatever investments you have at the end of the year and comparing it to what those values were in the beginning of the year. Why? Because every year we're trying to end our investments or our savings in the green. So if you started out the year with 5,000, you may set a goal that by year's end, I want to have 10,000. That's that yearly rate of return. Looking at the value of the investment at the end of the year and comparing it to where you started. So, that includes stocks, bonds, or whatever you have. So when we talk about money, I'll run through just the acronym again and turn it over to Eleshia. We have market timing, over leveraged, net worth, emergency funds, and yearly rate of return.
Wow. I hope you guys are getting these good notes tonight. I see that we're dropping a few of them in the chat. And it's very important that we have this type of financial intelligence, because if not, we'll keep going on, through our daily lives thinking that we're jamming,
Yeah, yeah,
and then we get to the end and we don't have anything
yeah,
on, to retire with. We don't have anything in our savings, and we don't have any emergency, and we think we jamming.
yeah.
And things have totally changed with this inflation when it comes to the rate that we're spending and the rate that we're saving.
Yes.
And we really have to deep dive into that we have to take a pause
Yep.
and put a different lens to how we're navigating spaces when it comes to our finances. So I hope tonight has blessed some people that are watching tonight. And so I always like to leave people with application for activation. So that means when you leave, what should you apply from what we talked about tonight? Number one, change your mindset about money. That is the only way that your money situation is going to change. You have to change your mindset about money. Before you can consider a budget, you have to learn how to manage your emotions. What triggers you to want to spend?
Yes.
Is it boredom? Is it lack of financial goals? Is it power? Is it that you want to keep up with the
Right.
Joneses? You trying to compete with other people or things like that? What is it? Is it lack of willpower? Is it lack of discipline? What is it that keeps you spending versus keeping you saving? The number three, I hope I'm counting right, is resilience. We have to know that financial obstacles are gonna come. You're gonna
Yes.
have a flat tire. You're gonna have to replace something in the car. A water pipe may
Yes.
blow. You're gonna have some type of emergency, but that's why we save for these emergencies. So when we have an emergency, it's no sweat off your back. I think it was the other day I took the kids to the dentist, and I wasn't expecting, when I got there to the dentist office, the insurance had changed and they wanted to charge basically $1,000 for the kids to get their teeth clean and x-ray.
Okay.
And so
You really into telling things, aren't you?
in that moment I
All
thought
right. Okay.
in
Well,
in
keep
that
some in the house
in
now.
that moment, I thought to myself, like, I could swipe my card for $1,000 because, we talked about access. I had access to $1,000 to go ahead and swipe it, or I could have made a decision like, no, nobody's tooth fell out, or I'm not having to replace a tooth. This is not an emergency. I'm gonna go find another dentist that takes the insurance that we currently have and not spend that, because I could utilize that for other things. So what am I saying? Financial obstacles are gonna come, but you have to have wisdom and not move in impulse, because I could have been impulsive and did that. Have wisdom and an impulse and make good decisions. And then I talk about again status. Stop trying to keep up with the Joneses. I really think that that's the Achilles heel in the African American community. We rather drive looking like we got we rather drive the $1 million car versus having the $1 million in the bank. We go from having a Toyota Corolla to driving a Mercedes Benz. Just because we've received the increase on our jobs. Oh, now we're closer to six-figure salary, so we feel like we can go out. But have you even saved for that? Do you, before you go out and buy a $40,000 car, do you have $40,000 in your savings account, cash? Or do you have $40,000 even in your 401k?
Or
It's
retirement
or
account.
retirement. So it's about changing your mindset about money altogether. So that's what we're after, is helping us have a different lens to change to finances and what we can accomplish.
Absolutely. And this whole idea, it's a, they say it's a sorry dog that doesn't wag his own tail. And so, a lot of this information is in the books that I've written. The first one is I Know Why You're Broke. Do you?
And you can get that from tonycash.org or Amazon.
I prefer Amazon.
Okay, Amazon. Go to amazon.com.
Yeah, Amazon.com. And Financial Freedom, my latest book, A New Beginning. And it's just some valuable information in there that will bless you. They're relatively inexpensive, so you're not having to pay a whole lot of money. Neither one of the books are over $20. And so buy you one and then look out for someone else. Or maybe buy a few for your organization or your church, or just say, hey, we want you to come out and help us, tell us what's required for us to come out and have you and Eleshia come out and really help us change our minds, whatever it is. But I'm telling you that these are two simple, very applicable books, easy to understand. They're not written over your head, but they're written from the perspective that listen, I understand your financial issues and I want to help you.
And lastly, tonight, go and purge your inbox. Purge your inbox tonight. Unsubscribe for everybody that wants you to spend money.
Yes.
If they got a deal or whatnot, I mean, if you got to unsubscribe from Bath and Body Works, Macy's, I don't know I don't know who's after your money. I know how you can find out, though, is you can go to your check registry online and look to see who's getting all your money.
Right.
If it say Amazon or Target, you need to unsubscribe from them and subscribe to some things that talk about pouring money back into your pocket, like Yahoo Finance or Bloomberg or
Yes.
anything that will encourage you on how to save money and how to grow your money, but not how to subtract your money.
Absolutely.
Well, thank you so much for joining us tonight.
Yes.
We hope that we were a blessing. We will be right back here on next week. And when I talk about tonight was just practicality, we just wanted to help you have a mindset shift. And we hope that you will join us again right here next Wednesday at 7 p.m. for Money University. Save for emergencies during the inflation. We're going to talk about our new strategies for saving during inflation, and you don't want to miss it.
No,
so
you
make
don't.
sure you pull up next Wednesday at
Pull
7
up.
o'clock
Come
p.m.
on.
And we'll be right
Invite
back
somebody
here.
else with you.
And make sure you share. Good night.
Good night.